Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. The patience of our OP in the first story may be the envy of Tibetan monks. After a short pause, you'll understand why. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Guy wants me kicked off a plane because I won't move my seat. Last night I took a midnight flight from Australia to New Zealand on an airline service named similar to Plain Sun. For anyone that lives in or around Australia, you'll probably know this is your bottom-of-the-barrel budget airline, so while it's cheap, let's be real, you can't expect to be traveling in luxury. Therefore, due to my long legs, I did what any rational person does and booked extra leg room in the emergency exit row aisle. I boarded, I sat, the plane took off. No typical Karen trying to steal my seat, as most of these planes seem to go. AD, annoying dude. Me. Yeah? About 30 minutes into the flight, as everyone's trying to get some sleep, the person behind me in standard seating, AD, starts kicking my chair and swearing under his breath. The space is small. It sucks, I get it. After he settles down, I rest my back against my chair again. A moment later, I feel a foot kicking my aisle side armrest, and the following is heard. AD, can't you move your seat? You're taking up so much effing room, I have no space. Me, mate, the seat's literally welded to the floor. I'm sorry, but I can't move my seat. AD kicked the armrest again and, I believe, turned to his sleeping companion and said, "This stupid bee won't give me any space. For F's sakes, my legs are squashed. I'm effing tired. I want some effing sleep, but I won't get any because of this effing C word." Thinking back, I probably should have called the steward at that point, but I'm flawed. What can I say? Swearing's a pretty normal thing here, but Christ. Couple minutes of silence later, and he's back at it again, kicking the back of my seat like a toddler, punching the headrest, shinning his phone light on my sleeping face to wake me up and yell at me, swearing to his companions about every kind of bee I am. You get the picture. At one stage, I turn around to him and yell, "Can you stop harassing me? For God's sakes, I literally cannot move this chair." No response. I was at the stage where I kept saying to myself, next time he does it, I'm pressing the call button. Fortunately, or unfortunately for me, AD presses the call button. The stewardess comes. AD, either tell this bee to move her seat or get her off the plane. I'm trying to sleep and she won't give me any effing leg room. Stewardess, well, we can't move her seat, but we can move you to the back where there are less people. AD, just give me a chair with more effing leg room. This is ridiculous. Give me her seat. Stewardess, there's some seats in the back. Follow me. As the stewardess walks down the aisle, AD gets out of his seat, punches the back of my chair, grabs my ponytail and yanks it before walking off to follow the lady. By the time I turn around to yell at him about what the actual frick he thinks he's doing, he's quite a way down. While I didn't see him again after that incident, I do know he didn't get a better seat because I booked the last extra legroom seat on the plane. The only other thing that happened was when the plane landed and I tried to get off, AD's companion tried to body block me from getting out of my seat, but I was working on 30 minutes of sleep at this stage and just pushed her aside. I was too tired for that crap. He should have been kicked off for assaulting you. But I suppose a bargain bin airline needs all the passengers they can get. And our second story. Karen accuses my nephew of trying to steal my own car. A bit of context beforehand. My sis has an adopted son, Jason. He's one of the nicest kids I've ever met, and I'm proud to call myself his uncle. While me and my sister are mixed, dad's white, my nephew is darker skinned and looks nothing like us. Sadly, important for later. Now's the time to mention my car. It's a 2020 Mazda MX-5 Miata I managed to buy brand new thanks to being financially well off at the time. So this story takes place last summer. Jason's around 13 years old and was 12 when this took place. My sister came to visit and brought Jason with her. At the time of the story, my Jason was outside on the porch talking to his friends and asked if it was cool if he checked out my car. I had no objections since I knew he'd be responsible and I could trust him around it. Now, I wasn't here for this part as I was inside, but my nephew tells me while he was checking it out, this kid comes around and starts gawking at the car. He goes up to Jason and asks him about the car. Jason doesn't know anything about cars, so he said he didn't really know anything about it and told him to come back later when I was outside and maybe I could tell him about it. The kid says okay and runs off. This is where I come in since I heard what sounded like frantic pounding on my door. I open it, and there stands Karen and the little kid. Karen: "Sir, is that your car in the driveway?" Me: "Yes." Karen: "Well," points at Jason, "I got this one trying to steal it." I finally realized what was going on. Me: "Oh, no, ma'am, I think you misunderstand. That's my nephew. He was just checking my car out." Karen: "He's your nephew?" Me: "Yep." This around the time my sis came around thanks to all the commotion. Sis: "What's going on here?" Karen: "Well, your husband just..." Sister: "Whoa, lady, that's my little brother, not my husband." She looked over her shoulder and saw Jason looking at the ground. "Did my son do something to upset you?" I could practically see the Karen's eyes bulge out of her head. Karen: "He's your son? That's impossible. You two look nothing alike." Sister: "He's adopted." Note that my sister's not ashamed to admit my nephew is adopted, and Jason's well aware he is, but doesn't care. Karen: "Well, this one must have come from a family of thugs. I swear they all have something wrong with them. He's setting a bad example for my son." Note the kid had no clue what was happening. This is when my sister got angry. "What do you mean by they?" Karen: "I mean he's a thug. Not my fault they gave you this mistake of a child." Both me and my sister were mad at her for this and began to berate her on how just because he's darker than us doesn't mean he's not family, and about how she's a prime example of why POCs still have to watch their back since apparently we can't do certain things because of how we look. The Karen began to get scared, threatening to call the cops since we were all nothing but a bunch of thugs, but I recommended not to since I have a Ring doorbell and assured her the police would love to see the footage. She ran off after I said this, kid in tow. Sorry if I began to rant a bit. This just made me so angry. I swear, how can some people be this dense? I swear, Karens are the biggest thugs. I'm so sad your nephew had to experience this. Well, sad all of you had to go through it. Even the little neighbor boy who also didn't deserve to experience that. She was so out of line. Too bad she's still on the loose. At least karma will get her at some point. And our last story. Mother-in-law trying to get her house back. First of all, I'm male. My wife is 50-50 split between having her head deep in her mother's butt, not wanting to have anything to do with her. It's complicated. My relationship to mother-in-law was always awkward. She didn't want her precious daughter to leave home and build up her own family, so she always tried to shackle my wife as near to her as possible and used every possible trick up her sleeve to achieve exactly that. From fake illness to emotional stirrups to last-second unnoticed vacations, we had to come with, and my wife, not once until now, grasped that what her mother was doing was wrong. So around 6 months ago, mother-in-law and father-in-law bought a new house, smaller one, as they didn't need all that space at their old home. At first, I personally wasn't interested in that house, but somehow my mother-in-law convinced my wife to convince me to buy the house from them so we can buy cheap and live with one less worry. I was completely against the purchase of that house. It was incredibly near to the new home, 30 minutes walking distance, and the amount they asked, $450K, was not justified for the state the house was in. Long story short, my wife got extremely upset with me not wanting the house, and I just gave up and said yes. So yay, we own a house now. For info, we got the keys, documents, everything's on paper. Nothing's in their name anymore. It's all on us now. And for the past few months of us moving in, renovating a bit here and there all seemed well. They never came to visit, we always visited them, and the house was fine after some work. Still a lot to fix. But I noticed a few things. Whenever we were gone for more than 8 hours or a few days and then returned to the house, it seems like someone was inside. I could have sworn some of my stuff was moved. A few times it smelled like gas as if I left something on in the kitchen running and the sink in one of the bathrooms was wet. Even so, I always wipe it dry after using. Even my wife found it odd, and after the gas incident, she was alarmed. So I figured mother-in-law has probably a key still in her possession that we don't know of, and she snoops around. I bought 2 cheap cameras and installed them so I could see the entrance and the living room as those two are connected. I changed out the locks by buying completely new secure doors and having them changed out, as well as new window security, as all of those were old. 2 days after everything was changed, I got a text from mother-in-law saying that I'm an evil person trying to destroy everything she loves and that she wants the house back from us as she isn't tolerating how we're treating her old property. I asked her where this came from all of a sudden, and her answer was, "You're destroying our old home. The door was a precious memento, and we shouldn't have changed it out without asking her first." I told her that house was no longer hers and we could do whatever we wanted. Didn't hear back from her until now. She now wants her house back because we're apparently not fit to be homeowners. She's giving us back $430K of the $450K, as they already spent $20K and won everything back. I told her to go eat grass and that the home is now ours. I already had the police at my door. Can you imagine what it looked like for me to explain to them that this house was legally mine? They effing laughed. And the worst, my wife says to just get the old door back in. I don't get my mother-in-law. That I'm okay with. But I don't get how my wife can be so deep up her bullcrap. If it were me, I would go no contact and leave it at that, but my wife is just glued to her. I can't even enjoy marriage anymore. It doesn't feel like her and I, it feels like her, I, and her backcrap mother. Father-in-law's all right, just a normal person, most of the time fed up with mother-in-law's bullcrap too, but he can't be bothered to actually hold her back. I'm stressed, angry, and really disappointed. You must rescue your wife from the fog before it destroys your relationship. And they can have the house back for $475,000, and nothing goes back to any way it was before. You change it to be the way you want it, as you would any house you bought. Mother-in-law is just mad she can't snoop. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.